Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I wish to thank the Honourable Member for this question. Madam Speaker, you would recall that in March of 2017 I did make a ministerial statement on the dairy sector in Fiji, and of course in that presentation I did mention about one of the major challenges that the dairy sector is facing is the re-emergence of bovine tuberculosis and brucellosis. Madam Speaker, the term bovine is the scientific name referring to cattle. And in my response this morning, Madam Speaker, I will focus on TB specific to cattle, and of course brucellosis as well, because not on humans. But this is a zoonotic disease which can be transferred from humans to animals, and likewise from animals to humans as well. Not only that, Madam Speaker, in some other countries as well, there are other hosts. When the eradication campaign does progress, then they can focus on other possible hosts. I remember that when I was briefed in New Zealand on the eradication campaign, after cattle and after human beings, then they found out that the host was possums. So there is a possibility, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, bovine tuberculosis and brucellosis has been in Fiji for a long time. We can go back to the last 50 years. And not only Fiji, Madam Speaker, there are certain countries, because of the environmental conditions, these diseases do thrive. And of course, they have been conducting their own respective campaigns, Madam Speaker. And this is a very costly exercise as well, Madam Speaker. In Australia, they started on their campaign way back to the 70s. And the yearly cost for Australia, because Australia is big and they have a lot of animals as well, Madam Speaker, is around 32 Australian dollars, 32 million per year. Likewise, in New Zealand, it dates back to the 1960s, and the yearly cost for the eradication campaign was around New Zealand dollars 80 million. In the UK, Madam Speaker, the yearly cost, again, dates back to the 60s as well, is about 50 million pounds per year. For Fiji, Madam Speaker, most of the funding in as far as not only the development of the cattle industry in Fiji, and of course dairy partially, but of course in the eradication campaigns as well, we were usually funded by our development partners or other finances, given the limitation in government's coffers back then. That is pretty obvious, Madam Speaker. So this again, I can say that is one of the contributing factors to the re-emergence which the ministry detected in 2009. And I would start, Madam Speaker, with bovine brucellosis. Bovine brucellosis, Madam Speaker, was detected by the ministry in Wendawara in Te Leo. This is the Tunia area, Madam Speaker, for those that do not know Te Leo that well. Usually there are clinical signs that we call it, Madam Speaker, and one of the mostly identifiable clinical signs is the rate of abortions in animals. There were a lot of abortions in 2 farms in Wendawara way back in 2009. And that led, Madam Speaker, to us focusing on it and then conducted the necessary tests as well, Madam Speaker. For brucellosis, there are only two major parts to the eradication program or eradication campaign, if we may want to call it, Madam Speaker. One is through field collection and mainly blood samples for brucellosis, and of course laboratory confirmation. So when we identify the clinical signs in the field, then blood samples are taken from the animals and of course confirmed in the laboratory. Both these diseases, Madam Speaker, are caused by bacteria. So the laboratory testing will confirm that, Madam Speaker. For brucellosis, for TB, Madam Speaker, if I may just give a brief history on it as well. I've talked about clinical signs, but in the eradication campaign for bovine tuberculosis, Madam Speaker, one, we do field testing rather than field collection when you're comparing with brucellosis. Field collection for brucellosis is on blood samples, but in TB, Madam Speaker, the mostly accepted method of testing is what we call the caudal skin fold test. Caudal refers to the tail, the back, the forward end of the tail of the animal. That is where you do the testing. So the caudal skin fold test is the mostly accepted and widely used method of testing, Madam Speaker, for TB. So the animals are injected, and then after 3 days they are inspected, and there will be signs of swelling and redness and other signs that will give us some indications that this is a reactor animal. And then, Madam Speaker, that is further confirmed in the when the animals are slaughtered. The best advice that's always given to the farmers is for the animals to be isolated and culled. They have to be slaughtered so that we put a stop to the possibility of this being spread, Madam Speaker. So animals, for example, if they are tested, reacted, so reactors recommendation move to the slaughters, Madam Speaker. At FMIB, there will be meat inspectors. They will also confirm the result of the test. This is a point of contention, Madam Speaker, because there are generalized TBs, which the meat inspectors, you will see that generalized TB, Madam Speaker, it's obvious in the lungs of the animal and in the limbs of the animal and even to the extent of the flesh. It's obvious, but where the point of contention is what we call NVLs, non-visible lesions. And this is where some farmers are saying, oh, when we take the animals to the FMIB, the meat inspector says that there is no sign for TB. Then, Madam Speaker, that's where the laboratory confirmation comes in as well. So it's consistent from the field testing, meat inspectors, and even if they are non-visible, Madam Speaker, the laboratory confirmation will give us the indication whether the animal is affected. Let me just quickly go to some numbers, Madam Speaker. I wish to say, in response to the question, although painful, it is progressing very well and very successfully, Madam Speaker. Because animals are identified, the painful part of it is it has to be slaughtered, and of course that means loss in income for the farmers, but in the long term is beneficial for the industry. It is beneficial for the industry, not only in terms of economic value, but most importantly, the health and well-being of our people as well, Madam Speaker. So my response to the question is, it is progressing very well and very successfully, Madam Speaker. These are the numbers. Let me start with brucellosis, Madam Speaker. Brucellosis results, it was high in 2010. We had about 549. Madam Speaker, these tests mainly focused in the dairy sector. There are a lot of animals, and of course in Naitasiri and in Teleu. 549. This is important for because this contributes to butter as well. And then in 2011, Madam Speaker, 298. And then as we moved into more farms, Madam Speaker, 761 in 2012. 2013, 251. 2014 goes down to 85 from 251. 2015, 23. 2016, 21. 2017, it went up to 35. Why, Madam Speaker? Because we have started shifting not from Teleu but to Naitasiri. And this figure, Madam Speaker, is because we have succeeded with the big farms, but now we are going into the stray animals and the village animals, Madam Speaker. So that is why you will see that increase again in 2017, Madam Speaker. And I've been told as well that this year, same thing, more than 35, because we are going now into the stray animals, and of course very quickly, lastly, on brucellosis, Madam Speaker, these are the numbers. 2010, 18. 2011, 69. 2012, 50. 2013, 32. 2014, 721. 2015, 1,521, Madam Speaker. 2016, 1,224. 2017, 874. We're starting to go down again from 2016, Madam Speaker. 2017, 874. And this year, Madam Speaker, as we speak, I have about 161 reactor animals ready to be moved. And the figures show that we are, and that is why I said it's going on very well, successful, but painful because of the losses, particularly in terms of the value of the animals, and of course affects milk production as well. I'll stop there.